So today it's all about a informative guide or the definitive guide on how to pick the right garment, taking into account fit, GSM, feel, brand, things like that. So we're going to run through specifically for T-shirts and hoodies today. There's quite a bit to chat through, so we'll try and get through those. But these are most important ones generally when you're putting together a line of merch. So for starters, we're going to talk T-shirts. Now with T-shirts, it can get a little bit confusing. There's loads of different cuts and fits and everything available. So starting with probably the most obvious one is the fit of a T-shirt. Now, there's a split between obviously men's, women's, kids and sizing and that kind of thing. But within that, there's actually a fit to a T-shirt. So what we mean by that is how the garment is going to sit on the body. This garment here, this is the AS Color staple tee. Now, needs a little bit of an iron, but this here particularly is what we would class as a standard fit. If you're a medium, you wear a medium, it's going to finish with the sleeves starting at the peak or the point of the shoulder. Through the body, relatively similar length, and through the core. No, not a baggy fit or anything like that, pretty standard fit. This is what you would consider a normal run-of-the-mill T-shirt. Moving into what we would class as an oversized fit. You'll see this listed on our website, or every clothing manufacturer will offer some form of a definition on what kind of fit it is. So you generally see whether it's like a streetwear fit or an oversized fit. That's usually the most common. The other one that we hear quite a bit is drop shoulder. So what that means is that the shoulder actually starts, so the seam of the garment, so where the sleeve meets the body of the garment, is actually lower than the point of the shoulder. So when worn, you'll see it sort of hang past a little bit. Through the body, quite a bit wider, generally referenced as a bit of a boxy fit as well. You will see some T-shirts. So now AS Color for one offers the box tee, specifically quite short through the body and quite wide. So a bit more of a traditional, like very sort of LA streetwear inspired look. Something like that. So tall tees, we see plus tees, tall tees, that kind of thing. Most of the time that is what we would class as just a standard fit T-shirt, very similar to the blue staple there, but with an extra 3 to 5 centimeters on the bottom of the hem. Great for tall guys. The plus tees are designed specifically for that, and the tall tees are more of a T-shirt that's going to look like it's obviously significantly longer when worn. Now on the flip side, there is also the minus. You'll see there's a couple of designs for each brand that they actually reduce the length. Now this is specifically for either look or for someone who is a little bit shorter and doesn't want a tee that sort of hangs down past the waist. So it's usually only going to be about 2 to 3 centimeters shorter, but that will, it does make a big difference when worn. GSM. So GSM is something you've probably seen referenced quite a bit. GSM is a measurement of the weight or the density of a garment. A light T-shirt would be considered around the 140 to 160. That's very, very light. It's quite thin. A lot of sports shirts, gym shirts, that kind of thing. A standard is between 180 and 200. That's pretty consistent with what we would expect as a normal tee per se. And then you've got your heavy tees. So your heavyweight, streetwear, that kind of stuff. Anywhere from 220, 230 to 280, 300, 350, that kind of thing. So these are things to take into account. Now it's tricky to sort of pick that if you're looking at it from a magazine or online or something, but it does give you a bit of a reference of what that tee is going to feel like ahead of time. Starting with the AS Color Women's Basic Tee, for example. So this is a 160 GSM tee. So what we would class as a lightweight tee. Soft hand feel, they obviously stretchy, really nice to wear. But generally what we would class as quite a cool summer tee, quite lightweight, that kind of thing. Moving into, so even the AS Color Tall. So this is a 180 GSM, so pretty standard. So a little bit heavier weight. Visually looks much the same, fits much the same, relatively conforming to the body. This is right in that sort of middle range of what we would class as normal. Then we move to, this is a tank, but the classic tank. So same sort of thing. So this moves up to a 200 GSM. So 200 GSM hangs a little bit straighter. The differences there is that it does, when you pick it up, it does feel as if it's a little bit heavier. Perceived quality, I think people pick that up and go, oh, this is a bit more of a premium garment. And then moving into the heavyweight. So we've got the AS Color heavy faded here. So this is a heavyweight tee. You're looking at that, it's quite a thick, you can sort of see that there, quite a thick weave compared to what the lighter tees and stuff like that are. So you put those two next to each other, you'll find that a lot of that sort of heavier weight streetwear stuff hangs very straight, doesn't really sort of, show off the body or anything like that. It's quite a straight cut. Following on from our GSM chat, we'll chat about material. Now, the GSM bounces around quite a bit. Material doesn't change quite as much. So 9 times out of 10, you'll find that you'll have a cotton t-shirt. Majority of the t-shirts in your drawer are going to be all 100% cotton. But for certain applications, you might want something with a little bit more of a tech material. Now, this might be a blend, so it might be cotton blended with some polyester or some spandex to add some stretch, or it might be a completely 100% micro polyester tee, something like that. So you'll find a lot of your high-vis stuff is generally polyester to reach a certain color, or gym shirts, that kind of thing, something to be quite very, very light, moisture wicking, that kind of thing. Polyester being an engineered fiber rather than a natural fiber like a cotton. They can make that really, really, really fine. So we've got a couple of examples here comparing our standard, we've just been through obviously the cotton tees, but something like this here, this is specifically obviously made for gym and running and any form of sport and that kind of thing. It's moisture wicking, it's 100% recycled polyester, which is cool. But consider this, especially for sporting brands, stuff like that. It's quite stretchy still, it's quite light in terms of its, capabilities to keep you cool when sweating and getting rid of or getting the moisture to the outside of the garment. These guys are a really good option. All right, we've been through the fit, we've been through the GSM, and we've been through the material. Now, these are the three big factors you've probably got to consider. When choosing your garment, if there's certain aspects that you'd like to see, there's certain brands that specialize in certain areas. So look, if you want something that's heavy, streetwear, oversized, drop shoulder, all the things that we spoke about before, look in the Sharkwear range. American Apparel do some great options. Obviously, AS Color have the heavy tee. They also have a bunch of faded options, a couple of color options and that kind of thing. Now, if you want something, some standard tees, pretty much every brand out there is going to have what they would class as a run-of-the-mill standard t-shirt. So check out AS Color, Gildan, Comfort Colors, JB's Wear. There's loads of brands there that have some really good options. It's just about finding the color and the material to suit what you're after. And then if you want something in the lightweight range, now you might look at something like the basic tees from AS Color. There's a couple of options there with American Apparel as well, and some of those lighter sort of suede feel garments. Something to take into account at the same time is some of the promo tees. Now, slightly cheaper options. There's some tubular options, means they don't have seams down the side. It's a bit of a cheaper way of manufacturing the shirt, so it saves you guys a little bit of money in the long run. So it might be a giveaway tee or something like that. It's a really good option there because you can save some money on the garment. Still get a great fitting garment, still get a great washing garment, but just saves a little bit at the end of the day. The last thing to consider is what print you're going to put on that garment. Now, we've got this one here courtesy of our friends over at American Apparel. It's the 9001 super heavyweight. You'll see here, so we've got obviously the American Apparel here, which is in embroidery. We have this print here, so the 9, which is in a screen print puff ink. We then have here, which is direct to film or DTF, what we call our digital print. We then have here, which is a standard plasticell screen print. And then we have here is DTG, so direct to garment. Obviously a load of different options. In terms of print with t-shirts, 9 times out of 10, we would highly recommend going with print. Embroidery is definitely an option as well, but something to consider is that with a t-shirt being thin, you're always going to have backing there. So with that backing, if that t-shirt is quite light, now this is obviously a super heavyweight, quite a heavy GSM, something's going to carry that a little bit better. But if you've got a very light t-shirt, it could be an option that you're going to see that backing around the back of the print. With something like that, obviously we can use no-show backing, and there are certain ways around it, but it's definitely something to consider because it's not always going to be completely invisible. That's a pretty comprehensive guide on t-shirts. Stick with us now and we're going to run through some hoodies for you. All right, so we've been through t-shirts, and the benefit here is that a lot of the same principles apply, especially when we're talking about fit for hoodies. So, drop shoulder, heavyweight, streetwear inspired, boxy fit, that kind of thing. A lot of that stuff is gonna, that's really gonna correlate across the two. Particularly with fit-wise, you've got something like the AS Color Heavy Hood here. This is an oversized, relaxed fit, I suppose you'd call it. You'll see that one there. It obviously looks little bit more boxy. It's a little bit shorter through the body, a little bit wider. That's a really good one to look out for. A sport hood, you've got a high neck. It's a polyester cotton blend, so it's gonna be quite moisture wicking. It's a little bit lighter in weight, slightly higher neck on it. Something that's suited for running, jogging, gym, that kind of thing. The next one here, we've got basically a standard hoodie. So this is the AS Color Supply. Great option, pretty standard run of the mill. Always got the two drawstrings, which is very sort of quintessential in terms of a hood. We've got our zip hood here, so much the same, but just obviously with a full zip. These are sort of going in and out of popularity, but something to consider if that's going to suit your application a little bit better. This one here is the AS Color Made crew neck. Now, obviously no hood here, slightly more formal sometimes, can be worn with a collar, that kind of thing. Definitely consider that one. These have been crazy popular of late. So this is the AS Color half zip. This is sometimes referred to as a quarter zip or a half zip, call it what you will. But these guys are really, really good because they, it's still quite streety. You can wear it quite casually, but you can also get away with it being relatively formal at the same time. And last but not least, we've got our specific workwear hoods. Now, these are a really good option. Now, this particular one is a cotton polyester blend as well. And then we've got some extra, pockets and stuff like that here. So you got pen pockets on the sleeves, you got some extra pockets around the bottom of the body here. This is a great option for those on work sites. Something else that does come up quite a bit is obviously with the standard hoodies, they've also got the the drawstrings on the neck. With these, the drawstrings are fully contained internally, because if you are leaning over some form of power tool, you don't want that to be hanging down and getting caught in anything, and is actually a requirement on some work sites. So we've been through GSMs with T-shirts. Now, obviously, with hoodies, they're going to be a little bit heavier. The concept is exactly the same, but a standard call it a midweight hood, is about 280 to 300 GSM. A heavyweight hood is around the 350, and an ultra heavyweight or super heavyweight is going to be around the 400 to 500 GSM. Now, a couple of things to take into account there is that majority hoods are actually more of a blend. They're not all 100% cotton. And that means a few things, and it does stand out quite a bit more than what it would on a t-shirt. So we've got a couple of options here. Now, what we call the standard is still quite a premium hood, is the AS Color Supply hood. Now, this is a 290 GSM. Still feels quite warm. They wear really well, but it doesn't have that heavy feel per se. We've then got the box hood. Now, this is their box version. This is a 350 GSM, very similar to their stencil hood, which is the other incredibly popular one. That's probably one that you've come across before in your life. These are 350 GSM. This is what we would class as a heavyweight hood. So it definitely has a bit more of that heavy feel to it. You can see how it hangs on the coat hanger too. It's quite a bit heavier. We then move into their, you guessed it, heavy hood. This is a 400 GSM. Now, with this, obviously it feels significantly heavier on the coat hanger. It's quite a bit heavier to touch and to feel. And when worn, it does feel, it's got that real sort of warm, huggy feel. All of these are the last three that I've been through have all been cotton polyester blends. Now, the cotton is great for regulating temp, nice and warm, and it's very durable. But the polyester gives it that nice fleecy feel on the inside. Now, if you go to a 100% cotton hood, you're not going to have that fleecy feel on the inside. You're going to have like a terry towel feel, which brings us to the Made crew. Now, these come in both a hood and a crew neck. This is a 500 GSM, but it doesn't actually feel even 100 GSM heavier than what the heavy would be. This is 100% cotton. So you'll see on the inside, we don't have that fleecy feel. This is a bit more of it's like almost a terry towel feel sort of thing, but this is a 500 GSM. So this is like the ultra premium, high end, fashion wear, that kind of stuff. So it's something to consider. Obviously a higher price point, but it's a really, really nice way to finish your brand off. And then the last one we'll cap off with is polyester. So this is a 100% polyester hood. This is a windproof, waterproof option from Seismic there. So really good option, obviously, similar to one we showed you before in that workwear range. But you'll see there that obviously this is, being the polyester, it's got that really sort of shiny finish to it. It's quite a techie finish, and we've got that nice sort of polar fleece on the inside. A couple of brands to keep in mind. So if you want something in that streetwear range, we obviously spoke a lot about AS Color today. So check out their heavy range. They have a bunch of different cuts and fits, from the box hood to the stencil. The relax hood's a really good one. So the relax hood doesn't have any drawstrings on it. But apart from that, it's a pretty cost-effective hood, still quite a heavy weight. Now, if you want something in the tech range, it's a lot of the workwear brands. So, Bisley, Hard Yakka, Seismic. And then last thing is obviously finding the print or the decoration that you want to put on it. Now, we went through with the American Apparel example before, but with the hoodies and them being a little bit thicker, if you want to do embroidery, that's a really good option there. It's a slightly more formal look. It's going to carry the stitches a whole lot better, so you don't have to worry about that backing. So because it's quite thick, you're not going to see that backing come through or anything like that. We can be quite elaborate with the prints and designs and stuff like that, or you can go pretty wild with the embroidery. All in all, make sure you like and subscribe. We will continue to do some more informative videos and stuff like this. We'll try and keep it super exciting with some fun stuff in between. We've got a whole bunch of stuff coming into the end of the year, and look forward to seeing you again.